Dear grade 12 students, welcome to this English language lesson in which we will deal with the conditional sentences types 0 and 1. That's why I would like you to get your student's book and have it opened on page 61. As usual, we will go through the learning objectives of today's lesson. So by the end of this video, you will be able to identify the structure and the use of conditional sentences types 0 and 1, to determine the meaning of expressions used in conditionals, to rewrite sentences using conditional expressions. The starter activity of today's lesson is a matching task. So I would like you to pause this video here and choose the part that best completes each sentence. Well done. Let's see the answers. Sentence 1. Water boils. Excellent. If it reaches 100 degrees Celsius. Then sentence 2. Buy some apples. Very good. If you go to the market. Sentence 3. If Kate studies hard. Excellent. She will succeed. And finally, if you want to borrow my book, you must promise to give it back to me on Friday. So, what do you notice? What is the nature of these sentences? Excellent. They are conditional sentences. In the first step, we will remember together the structure of conditional sentences. As you can see in the displayed example, a conditional sentence starts with if. Also, the conditional sentence is composed of two clauses. The first clause is called the if clause, and the second is called the main clause. These two clauses are separated by a comma. However, these clauses are movable, which means the main clause can appear in the beginning of the conditional sentence, followed by the if clause, and we notice that the comma in this case disappears. Now we will do activity A in your student's book, page 61. You have 3 conditional sentences and 2 questions below. I want you to pause this video here and determine the sentence that refers to a general truth, which means facts that are always true. Then say which of the sentences above refers to something that is probable, which means something that is likely to happen. And finally, which of the above sentences gives instructions or advice. Well done. Let's see what you have found out. Now, which sentence refers to a general truth? Exactly, the first sentence, because traveling for sure broadens the knowledge. Then, which sentence shows that something might happen? That's it. It's the second sentence. So, she will probably not surely go camping. And finally, sentence 3 contains an instruction. Now, I would like you to pause this video here and select the sentences in which if could be replaced by when without affecting the meaning of the conditional sentences. Well done. Let's check this out. So, which sentences have you chosen? Exactly, the first sentence. And you can say, when you travel a lot, you know that choosing the right place to stay is essential for a pleasant holiday. And also the third sentence, exactly, as you can say, when the oxygen mask comes down, put it over your mouth. And you notice that the meaning of the sentences does not change when we replace if by when. For question D, I would like you to pause this video here and find out how the meaning in sentence 2 changes if we replace if by when. Well done. What have you found? Great. If we use when instead of if in this sentence, the sentence will refer to something that is certain to happen and not something that is likely to happen. Now let's move to activity B. I would like you to pause this video here, examine the conditional sentence below, and complete the rule for making conditional sentences type 0. Excellent. What have you written? Great. So if or when are followed by the present simple tense. Now, what about the main clause? Exactly. Also, the present simple is used in the main clause. We continue with the same activity. So please pause this video here and complete the rule for making conditional sentences type 1 with the help of the two sentences below. Well done. Let's see the answers. So if is followed by which tense? Excellent. In both sentences, the present simple tense is used in the if clause. As for the main clause of the first sentence, we should use will or other modal verbs like can, must, may, might, should, and the base form of the verb. However, it's a bit different for the main clause of the second sentence, as to give instructions or advice, it's better to use the imperative. And the imperative means that you start your clause immediately with the verb without mentioning the pronoun. Now we will do some practice. So please pause this video here and write the verbs of these conditional sentences in the correct tense. And bear in mind the rules we have completed previously. Very good. Let's correct together. So sentence 1 refers to a general truth. What should we write? Excellent, exceeds. Then sentence 2, which gives advice. What is the correct answer? That's it. Ah. Again, sentence 3 gives instructions and advice. That's why the correct answer should be exactly, ask. We use the imperative here in the main clause. We move to sentence 4, which indicates that something will probably happen. What have you written here? Excellent, will go. Sentence 5 starts by the imperative. So what should we write after when? Exactly, feel. Finally, sentence 6, you notice that the modal verb may is used in the main clause. So what should we write in the if clause? Excellent, works. Now for the second objective, we will do activity C in your student's book, page 61. On your left hand, you have conditional expressions in blue. Your task is to read the examples and find out which expressions mean if only, imagine that, and if not. So please pause this video here and do the task. Well done. Let's see the answers. Which conditional expressions mean only if? Well done. As long as, provided, providing, on condition that. So we can say, you can borrow my camping equipment only if you promise to handle it with care. Now, which expressions mean imagine that? Exactly, suppose and supposing. So we can say, imagine that trains to London are fully booked. How will we get there? And of course, unless means if not. So we can say, if you don't hurry, you will miss your flight. Now we reach our last objective of today's lesson. We will do activity D in your student's book, page 61. For presentational reasons, this activity has been split into 2 slides, but for you, please do the whole activity. Your task is to rewrite the sentences using the word in bold on your right hand. And make sure you keep the same meaning of the original sentence. So please pause this video here and rewrite the sentences. Excellent. Let's see the answers. For sentence number 1, what have you written? Excellent. You can write, unless you book the tickets at least a week in advance, you won't find any. Or, you won't find any tickets unless you book them at least a week in advance. Because as we have seen in the beginning of the lesson, the if clause and the main clause are movable. And this is applicable for all the sentences of this task. Now, sentence 2, how have you written it? Well done. You can write, provided we pay in cash, we will get a discount on the cruise. Or, we'll get a discount on the cruise provided we pay in cash. We continue with the same activity. So, sentence 3, what should we write? Exactly, we can write, if you take some days off, we will or we can go to the Canary Islands on holiday. Or if you want to start with the main clause, we can write, we will or we can go to the Canary Islands on holiday if you take some days off. Finally, sentence number 4. How have you used as long as in this sentence? Very good. By writing, as long as it is close to the major sites, I will stay in a hostel. Or, if you begin with the main clause, I will stay in a hostel as long as it's close to the major sites. We remain in the practice phase. This time we will do activity D in your student's book, page 64. Also, this activity has been divided into 2 slides, but for you, you will do the whole activity. Also, in this activity, you are required to rewrite the sentences using the word in bold and keeping the same meaning of the original sentence. So please pause this video here and rewrite the sentences. Well done. Let's correct together. How have you rewritten the first sentence using unless? That's it. You can write, unless I get paid, I won't be able to make the hotel reservations. Or another possible answer is, I won't be able to make the hotel reservations unless I get paid. Now, sentence number 2. How have you used condition to rewrite the second sentence? Well done. You can write, I will lend you my sleeping bag on condition that you give it back next week. Or another possible answer, on condition that you give it back next week, I will lend you my sleeping bag. We continue with the same activity. Now, sentence 3. How have you rewritten this sentence using supposing? Well done. You can say, supposing the weather gets worse when we are up in the mountains, what will we do? Or, if you want to start with the main clause, you can write, what will we do supposing the weather gets worse when we are up in the mountains? Finally, sentence 4. How have you used if with this sentence? Exactly. You can write, nobody will understand you if you don't speak clearly. And if you want to start your sentence with if, you can write, if you don't speak clearly, nobody will understand you. So now you know how to use the conditional sentences. Type 0 to speak about general truth, and conditional sentences type 1 to speak about things that might happen in the future or to give advice and instructions. Also, you know how to rewrite sentences using conditional expressions, starting either with if clause or the main clause. This is the end of today's video lesson. Thank you very much for being attentive. And remember that this video will be available on Microsoft Teams. Goodbye.